The morning sun was barely piercing through the mist that hung over Camp Lejeune when the sound of boots echoed against the parade ground. A sea of Marines stood in formation, crisp, unwavering, and silent. But at the far end of the lineup, among hundreds of uniformed men, stood one woman, her stance just as strong, her gaze unflinching, her eyes shadowed with memories that most soldiers wouldn't dare to carry. Her nameplate read Lt. Avery Cross, but few knew her real identity. She was Phantom 7. The base buzzed with tension that morning. A new commanding officer had taken charge, Colonel Nathan Riker, a battle-hardened Marine with a reputation that echoed through every deployment zone. Riker was known for breaking down anyone who stood before him, only to rebuild them stronger. He had seen countless soldiers, but none had ever made him pause, until that day. When the colonel's sharp voice cut through the air, every Marine straightened. His inspection was legendary, and his temper, infamous. One by one, he interrogated each soldier, testing their discipline, probing their history. Then his eyes fell upon her. A single woman among the platoon. Her uniform was immaculate, her posture perfect, but her eyes, they carried something else. A quiet defiance. He stopped in front of her. "Lieutenant," he said, his tone like gravel grinding under steel. "State your call sign." The entire line seemed to hold its breath. Call signs were personal. They revealed more than just a codename. They carried stories, pain, victories, losses. She hesitated only for a second before her lips parted, and she said two words that made the blood drain from the colonel's face. Phantom 7. The silence that followed was deafening. For a moment, it was as if time itself had frozen. Colonel Riker's expression, usually carved in stone, shattered. His jaw clenched, his eyes flickered with disbelief, then recognition, and something else. Pain. The Marines watched in confusion. The colonel didn't move, he just stared at her, this young lieutenant who had just uttered a name he thought he'd never hear again. Phantom 7. That name belonged to a legend. Years ago, during the darkest phase of the Afghanistan conflict, a covert operation known as Spectre Echo had gone horribly wrong. A small reconnaissance team was ambushed deep behind enemy lines. Every Marine in that unit had been declared dead, except for one. The one they called Phantom 7. She was never found. Officially, she didn't exist anymore. Unofficially, she was a ghost that haunted the halls of Marine history, rumored to have saved her team, then vanished. And now, that ghost was standing in front of him. Riker's mind flashed back to the night of the ambush. He was a captain then, leading the extraction team that never arrived in time. He remembered the frantic radio transmissions, the explosions in the valley, the desperate cry for air support, and one last, broken voice calling through the static, "This is Phantom 7, they're all gone." Then the signal was lost. He'd lived with that voice echoing in his nightmares for years. He had never forgiven himself for not reaching them in time. Now, that same voice stood before him. For the next few weeks, Avery Cross kept to herself. She didn't speak about her past, and she didn't need to. Her performance on the field spoke louder than words. She trained harder, ran farther, and shot straighter than anyone on base. But the whispers never stopped. Everyone wanted to know who she really was and why the colonel, who never showed emotion, treated her with a strange mixture of respect and caution. What none of them knew was the truth behind her scars. After the Spectre Echo mission fell apart, Avery had been captured. For 3 months, she was held in the mountains, tortured, starved, but she never gave up her team's position. When she escaped, she carried not only her own survival but also the ghosts of those she couldn't save. By the time she made it back to U.S. soil, her unit was gone, her identity erased, and her name buried beneath classified reports. The military wanted to forget what happened. She didn't. She re-enlisted under a new name, refusing promotions, refusing the spotlight. Her only mission now was to serve quietly, to prove that survival wasn't luck. It was purpose. Colonel Riker watched her from afar. Every time she stepped onto the training field, he saw the same determination that had once driven him, only stronger. Yet, every time their eyes met, he saw the weight of a shared history neither of them could speak aloud. One evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in blood-red hues, a storm alert came through. A chopper had gone down in the marshlands, an instructor team and 2 recruits trapped inside enemy simulated territory during a storm drill gone wrong. The rescue team was delayed. Visibility was near zero. Command hesitated to send anyone else. Before Riker could decide, Avery stepped forward. "Sir, I'll go." He froze. "Negative. "Lieutenant, it's too dangerous." But she didn't wait for approval. She simply grabbed her gear, checked her rifle, and disappeared into the rain. Hours passed. Lightning cracked across the horizon. The comms were filled with static, broken by the occasional faint voice. And then, silence. Riker's chest tightened. He'd seen this before. He couldn't lose her again. He mounted his own rescue team and plunged into the storm. For 3 hours, they searched the flooded marshes until a faint flare lit up the darkness. There, half submerged in mud and rain, was Phantom 7, dragging 2 unconscious Marines out of a wrecked chopper. Her uniform was shredded, her body bruised, but her grip on those soldiers never faltered. When she saw him, she didn't smile. She just said, "Mission complete." Then collapsed. Riker dropped to his knees beside her, his hands trembling. For the first time in decades, he felt tears sting his eyes. This woman, this soldier, had done what he couldn't. She had gone back into hell and brought them home. Days later, when she regained consciousness in the infirmary, he was there. The colonel stood silently at her bedside, holding a small metal tag, battered, scratched, but unmistakable. Phantom 7. He had kept it all those years, believing it belonged to a ghost. He placed it on her bedside table. "You earned this," he said quietly. "And you reminded me what it means to lead." From that day forward, the legend of Phantom 7 wasn't just a whisper, it became a symbol. Not of loss, but of unbreakable spirit. Marines across the base began wearing small patches marked with the number 7, a tribute to the one who never gave up, never stayed down, and never forgot what it meant to serve. Avery Cross never sought fame. She didn't care for medals or promotions. She only cared that her team lived, that others didn't suffer as hers had. And for Colonel Riker, every time he saw her walking across the field, he knew that redemption sometimes came not from victory, but from the courage to face the ghosts you left behind. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of courage, sacrifice, or the silent strength of those who serve, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps keep these true-to-soul stories alive for those who need to hear them. Special request. Speech balloon comment. Phantom 7 never dies. Below, to honor every unsung hero who fought battles no one will ever see.